Good morning, everybody. We want to welcome you to today's webinar, and topic today is service department tools and automations. And we know all of our dealerships spend a lot of time figuring out how to make your service department a revenue center. So I'm hoping you'll get a lot of tips and pointers today during our webinar. I also know that many of you have been on a lot of our webinars before, but just a reminder, during our Zoom webinars, anytime throughout the webinar, there's a Q&A at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to type in your questions. And as we have time throughout the webinar, we'll be answering those. We've also set aside some time at the end for Q&A. And if we don't get to everybody's questions, we're going to follow that up with just a Q&A document after the webinar. So we'll get that out in an email to you and provide you links to the recording and the PowerPoint from today as well. And without further ado, I want to turn it over to today's presenter, Brian Tierney.
Thank you, Diana, and welcome, folks. As Diana mentioned, my name is Brian Tierney. Some of you may have been on our Wednesday webinars before, in which case, thanks for joining us once again and welcome. And you know me, I'm the Customer Development Manager here at Lightspeed. And for those that are new to this, thanks for joining us today. Our goal is to show you some ways that you can use Lightspeed and really create some efficiencies in your business. But regarding myself, I've got about a little over 13 years experience with Lightspeed, worked in various departments here with the company. And prior to my time with the Lightspeed organization, I used Lightspeed in a dealership behind a parts, a service, and a sales counter here in Salt Lake City, Utah, where I started using Lightspeed in 1995, which means I've been using Lightspeed for just about 30 years. So once again, folks, thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking some time today to look at Lightspeed. And again, today our goal is to really look at efficiencies and ways to create time savings in your service department, ways to create a better service experience for your customers. And when we think about all those things, we like to think about what is your time worth, and maybe what is your customer's time worth. And those are some of the things that we're going to kind of keep in mind as we go through some of the tools, some of the efficiencies, and some of the ways that you can streamline processes in your service department, not only to maximize your own time, because we know your own time is valuable, but so is your customers. And we're going to show you some ways that you can really maximize your usage of the time, because they're not making any more of it. So our goal today is we're going to talk about service module integrations. And what does that mean? We'll spend some time and show you some of the things that are layered applications, if you will, in the service module. We'll also talk about some ways that you can create efficiencies in the service department, some things that you may be aware of, maybe some things that you're not aware of to streamline your day-to-day activity and service. We'll also talk about our CRM application as it relates to the service department. A lot of times folks, when they hear customer relation management or CRM, they think sales department, and absolutely it fits in that department very well, but it also fits in sales. Or in service rather. We'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about our mobile application, which we're obviously very excited about. We'll spend a bit of time talking about the mobile app at a high level. We'll also show you some ways that service advisors and technicians can use it to, again, create efficiencies, make the most of your time, and maximize your customers' time as well. We'll talk about that service scheduler, which really is focused completely on time, the service scheduler / calendar. I'll show you some ways that you can employ that in your service department, creating efficiencies. And then we're also very excited about a new feature that we've just recently rolled out called our Service Tech Video. And we'll show you some examples of how that tech video works in Lightspeed and how, again, you can build trust, efficiencies, and productivity, and more profit in your service department. And of course, as Diana had mentioned, at the end, we'll have a little bit of time for questions, and we'll hopefully provide you some answers to those questions. But as we jump into the presentation, we're going to talk first about integrations. And we recognize that there's lots of folks from various industries on the call today. And once again, thanks for joining us. Lightspeed serves a number of industries, from the marine industry to power sports to the RV industry, power equipment, golf. We've even got hardware stores and ammunition stores using Lightspeed. So we serve a number of industries. And with that in mind, we have a number of layered applications and integrations that fit into the service module that fits those industries. Things like Service Manager Pro, which allows you to look up jobs for specific year, makes, and models of vehicles and import that job information into your service department. Parts Manager Pro and RV Finder, which allow you to look up parts for specific vehicles you're servicing, find the accurate part number, description, and import that into Lightspeed. I mentioned the mobile application is another integration that we've got. We'll spend some time on that. Also, another function, we've got some OEM integrations that include things like VIN decoding. You can plug a VIN number into your service module and decode the VIN and tell your make and model of the vehicle. And that includes marine, RV, power sports. And even if you're servicing that occasional Ford or Chevrolet, we can decode those VINs as well. So we'll talk about some of those as we go through the repair order experience, but just to introduce the next topic, which is repair order efficiencies. We're going to dive into the DMS together after we talk just briefly about this. What are repair order efficiencies? Well, chances are the folks on the call already know what a repair order looks like in Lightspeed. And I probably won't spend a lot of time defining each and every definition field within the program. But what I will do is show you the ways that you can streamline the process, create efficiencies, and really save some time. And again, make the most out of yours and your customers' time. So that's kind of the goal next. But let's go ahead and jump into Lightspeed. And I'm going to pull up the DMS screen. And those of you that have seen Lightspeed before are familiar with what you're seeing. This is the login screen for the program. And we're going to go right up to service. And I'm going to select estimates and repair orders. And before I go into an actual repair order and show you some of those efficiencies and some of those tools that you might employ to streamline processes, I want to explain what we're seeing on the screen here. What we see on the screen is a series of estimates and repair orders. I think of this as my work in progress screen. It's effectively what's currently working in my service department. And I see things like the end date when the repair order was created, repair order number, customer name, RO status, which is going to tie into a couple of things we'll talk about in just a moment, but also point out, you'll notice the colors. The colors are there to really grab your attention and define more specifically what those statuses are pointing to really kind of tell you the story of that repair order. Things like, we're ready to work. We have everything we need for this repair order, so let's move forward with it. Or the blue colors for clocked in or closed labor indicate that a technician might be actively working in that repair order, and that might be helpful for me to know about. And then, of course, the darker greens, the ready to cashier, tells us we're ready to deliver this repair order to the customer. It's complete, it's ready to go. No other definitions on the screen here. I'll just briefly point out year, make, and model, and also category, which you might employ to further define various aspects of the repair order. Things like maybe you have a customer that's waiting. You want to define that. Maybe you've got a tire and wheel repair that's assigned to this repair order. You may want to define that so folks that are looking at the screen know that. Or perhaps that repair order has been added to the schedule. So again, you can use those categories. And also just to point out, those categories are user defined. So no two businesses have the same definitions in their category dropdown. But you'll assign those categories to, again, just further define what's going on in that repair order so that at a glance you can tell exactly what's going on. But let's take a look at Miss Linda Smith's repair order for just a moment. We'll point out a few efficiencies in the repair order module. So those of you that have seen this screen before, you're familiar with it. I hope you are. We won't spend a lot of time on the delicate, intricate functions of the repair order itself, but I want to point out the efficiencies. First of which, we're going to go to the Units tab. And as we're pulling in a new unit into a repair order, and I'm adding a customer unit is a unit that's come from the customer's home to be serviced. And maybe this unit's never been in the service department before, so I'm adding a brand new unit. Just to point out the ability to decode VINs, if you'll notice the VIN serial number field currently is empty. If I know the VIN number of that vehicle that's being serviced and I plug it into that field, hit the down arrow next to the cloud button, I can decode that VIN and tell the year, make, and model of that vehicle. Power sports, marine, RV, automotive, even power equipment. We can decode the VIN and tell exactly what that is. And folks on the call that work in the service departments know sometimes customers aren't really sure what year their vehicle is, and that'll make a big difference into what parts apply to that vehicle. So being able to decode that VIN is going to create efficiencies, make sure you have accurate data, and make sure that repair order goes smoothly. Another element that once you've added a vehicle to the repair order, we've added an RV, we've added a motorcycle to the repair order, we've got some integrations with our OEM partners, the manufacturers of the vehicles, and one of those integrations is service bulletins. And you'll notice at the upper top portion of the screen is a little thumbtack button that says bulletins. Now, if we're adding a vehicle to a repair order, power sports, marine, RV, whatever it might be, and there's an outstanding recall, a warranty, or a service bulletin attached to that vehicle, when you press that bulletins button, you're going to get that information from a feed from the manufacturer that's going to tell you about that bulletin. What is that warranty? What's that service cycle? What's that item that I should be aware of? And potentially it's a revenue source for your business as well, particularly if it's warranty. And that being an integration is just going to make that process easier for you as a Lightspeed user and also easier for your customers to be taken care of in a timely manner. Now, let's move over to the Work tab and just show you a couple of tools and efficiencies that exist here. We're going to go into one of the jobs. I'm going to point out a couple of things. You'll notice on the Job tab. So again, I'm not going to fully define all the fields that we're looking at here. If you do have questions about them, we'll take your questions at the end. Miscellaneous charges. I just want to point out the ability to auto-calculate. And some of you folks may know about this, and if you do, great. And what that means is if you've defined those miscellaneous charges to automatically calculate shop supplies, hazardous waste, shipping values, storage fees, whatever those miscellaneous charges are, you can set in your system preferences an automation to calculate dollar values for those fields so that you don't forget. A lot of times when it comes to shop supplies and those miscellaneous charges, we tend to forget if it's something we're manually adding to the system. Well, if you go into System Preferences, Service, Automatic Calculations, you'll notice there's a series of miscellaneous lines defined here where you can assign a percentage of labor, a maximum if you don't want that calculation to exceed a certain dollar amount. In this case, we've set a maximum of $10. You can calculate by job or by repair order. And what that means is for every single job, there's an auto calculation. Auto calc by RO means one time per repair order. And then I can assign those to the repair order. In other words, once I've set those auto calculations based on the labor value, it's going to charge a percentage of labor to those miscellaneous charges so that I can recoup some of those values for shop supplies and freight, etc. Now, if we go to the Parts tab, we'll talk about a little bit of an integration that lives here too. Electronic parts catalog lookup. So again, depending on the industry that you service, you might have access to a number of different electronic parts catalog tools that are integrated into your service module. Parts Manager Pro, PartSmart, or our latest iteration, our latest integration is with RV Part Finder. I can launch RV Part Finder from my repair order. It opens up in a browser screen where I can enter vehicle information, pick and choose the parts that I want to apply to that repair order, and then export them through a shopping cart export back to my repair order screen in Lightspeed. Creates an efficiency, make sure that I'm looking up the proper parts, I'm getting accurate data, and it's all seamlessly integrated into the Lightspeed experience. Really a time saver for the RV industry and also other industries we service. So moving over to labor, another integration that lives in the service module that some of you may be aware of and some of you may not be is Service Manager Pro. Again, it's industry specific. If I launch that Service Manager Pro, I like to call it a button, though looking at the screen, it doesn't look like a button, but it is. If I click the word Service Manager Pro, it launches that tool in a safe, secure browser where I can then look up the vehicle that I'm servicing, look up the jobs, look up whatever service we're doing to that repair order, essentially put it into a shopping cart, export it out of Service Manager Pro to be imported into Lightspeed so that I've got industry standard labor values, accurate parts, and even job descriptions that pertain to that vehicle based on nationwide data that uses Service Manager Pro to import that information. Powerful feature within the program. A couple of other features that you may not be aware of inside of Lightspeed and service is the print functions and some of the forms functions that exist inside of Lightspeed. We're just going to look at the summary version of the repair order. I'm going to save my progress here. And we're going to talk about the summary version of this repair order. And what I want to point out with the summary version, first of all, I've customized my form just a little bit, adding a business logo, adding a little bit of a sublimated logo behind the text. And I understand that in some states that could be controversial, but that's something you can use to customize your form. But specifically, I want to point out a couple of things on the form. First of which is the approval and decline boxes next to the jobs. As we've interacted with the customer, we started building the repair order, we started adding jobs, we give the customer the ability to approve or decline those jobs using some automation, using some electronic communication through forms. We'll speak about that now. So as I build my jobs, and maybe I want to share the document with my customer, of course, we could print this and send it to my laser printer. The customer could use a pen and check box the approval decline boxes. No problem. You could do that. That works great. But you can also use electronic signature technology, which allows you to create a PDF copy of the image of the estimate or repair order, send it to the customer via text or email, where they can then review it on their cell phone and check the boxes on their cell phone to approve or decline of the jobs. And not only that, they can also sign the document. And once they've done that, that electronically signed document will then show up as an e-signed document on the repair order. You've captured an electronic version of that PDF document with their signature and with their approvals and declines on the jobs. What do those approves and declines look like on the job side? If I go to the Work tab, you'll notice there's a drop-down arrow where an approval, a decline, or a waiting status shows up. If we're waiting for those approvals or declines, of course, it'll be listed as waiting. Once they're approved, we can move forward. Once they're declined, well, we can't really move forward with those jobs, but they do save to the repair order, and ultimately when we cashier it, customer can see that declined job on the repair order and consider it for the future. And then when they come back in the future, we can pull that declined job into a brand new repair order and move forward with it. So powerful feature there as well. Now, on the forms topic, one other element I'm going to talk about lives up in the upper right corner of the screen, and you may not have seen this button before. I know this is often overlooked by many of our dealerships, and it's the forms button. I'm going to select single form, and I might have a library of service-related forms. We're used to seeing this in the sales department, but we're less accustomed to seeing this on the service side. But in service, I've got a series of forms, and specifically, I've got some OEM manufacturer-related forms from companies like BRP and Yamaha. But what I want to highlight specifically is BRP calls this their health check form, or I think of this as my walk-around form or my vehicle inspection form. And this is an example of what that form would look like. And this is BRP branded, of course. Yamaha has something equivalent. And if your manufacturer that you work with doesn't require something like this, Lightspeed Forms Design can also create something for you that's specific and custom tailored to your business, including your business logos. And it would be an inspection form. And essentially, it's going to bring the vehicle information, the job information, repairer information into the form, and give you a number of boxes where you can check the condition of engine, chassis, brakes, drivetrain, and really describe what that vehicle looked like upon receiving it in your service department. And then ultimately communicate this information back to the customer to upsell, to provide a better service and a streamlined experience, not only for your service department, but also for your customers. And this can also be sent via text and email to the customer's cell phone, where they can check the boxes, or your service advisor can check the boxes on a tablet based on the condition of those vehicles, do the health inspection with the customer out in the parking lot, out in the showroom, and move forward with the service experience for the customer. So those are just some of the high-level features and functions that help to streamline the service process. The last thing I'm going to show you, and you may be aware of this as well, but hopefully this might be new to some folks, is if you've got those routine services, those oil changes, those health inspections, those diagnostics that you're doing frequently, and maybe you're tired of retyping the same thing over and over and over again every day, the same job descriptions, looking up the same parts, the same labor values, and you're like, I wish I could just copy and paste this into Lightspeed. Well, you can. We call that a standard job. And let's imagine that this propane tank mount job that I've got in this repair order is something that we do several times a week, and I know that I'm probably going to do it again tomorrow or sometime later today perhaps, and rather than retyping that data, I'm just going to save that job. I'm going to highlight it, click Create Standard Job, and this is that copy and paste feature I mentioned a moment ago. It's going to even allow me to define what year, makes, and models of vehicle that attaches to, or perhaps it works for a variety and I can define it as such. But it's going to bring all the parts that are applied to that job, labor values, and even miscellaneous charges. I'm going to click Create, copy and paste, save that to a library where when I have a customer that comes in tomorrow or later today that needs that service, well, when I'm building the repair order, I click Standard Jobs, brings up my library of all of those pre-built copy and pasted jobs, and I'm going to search by job title, like for example, 10-hour service. So I search by 10, brings up 10-hour service, I select it, I quickly drop it into the repair order, and as quickly as that, I've already started the process for the customer. I've got the job title, the job description, all the parts necessary to move forward with that job, labor values, and even miscellaneous charges if they're applicable. Boom, I save, customer's taken care of, we move forward with the repair order, efficient and productive. Makes it easy. So excellent. Let's take a look at a couple of other things as we move forward in our presentation. We're going to talk about automation and communication. So far, we've kind of walked around the service module, we walked around the repair order and showed you some ways that we can create streamlined processes, create efficiencies, really move the customer forward. Another feature that lives inside of Lightspeed service is CRM. And specifically what we're going to focus on is follow-up chains. And I think of follow-up chains as my workflow management functions. And let's take a look at what that means as we apply it to Linda Smith's repair order. Let's go back inside of her repair order. So where follow-up chains live, just to kind of give us a sense of context and where this lives, I'm back on the general page of the repair order, and I'm going to move over to communications. And communications is where there's a number of things going on kind of in tandem, simultaneously in the program. And the follow-up chains is on the upper, I guess, left side of the screen. When I'm creating an estimate or repair order, I then select from a drop-down menu the applicable follow-up chain. What is a follow-up chain? Well, let's take a look at this example. And if I hit my little spyglass next to the drop-down, I get a series of workflow management topics, things that are assigned to various members of my service department, from service writers or advisors to managers to maybe technicians, or maybe the general manager from the business. And as soon as I save that estimate or repair order, the clock starts ticking. And what starts happening is workflow management then begins. And the first level of my follow-up chain or workflow management is 15 minutes after I hit that save button, a text message goes out automatically from Lightspeed to the customer, thanking them for their business, maybe letting them know that Diana is their service writer and she'll be calling to follow up as the repair order progresses. And as the clock continues to tick, different communications go out either automatically via email or text, or appointments are assigned to the service advisors or technicians to phone the customer, to follow up or deliver the vehicle to the customer. Now, the other thing, we talked about RO statuses or stages, the statuses of the repair orders, the statuses of the jobs. Statuses can also be triggers of communication. And what that means is when the repair order arrives at, let's say, a ready to cashier status, meaning it's done, it's completed, it's ready to go. That ready to cashier status can be assigned to a workflow management, to a follow-up chain to automatically text or email the customer when that repair order is done to let them know it's complete. Benefit there is it saves me the time of having to pick up the phone and call the customer and play phone tag trying to deliver a message to a customer that, sometimes they just rather get a text anyway. So it's going to automate that process and really streamline and save some time for your service advisors, service managers, for all those repair orders that you're completing. Now, related to that topic is the communication panel on the right. Now, you'll notice that the green boxes here are outbound communications via text or email that have left Lightspeed either through automatic communication using follow-up chains, or maybe me as a service advisor or service manager go to the top of the screen and select send message, where I can choose to send a text or send an email manually to the customer. So I'm circumventing the automation, I'm circumventing the follow-up chain. And I send that message, and what ends up happening is Lightspeed's going to produce a template. It's going to produce a message automatically for me. So again, saves me some time from writing or typing the message in my Outlook or my Gmail box. Produces the message, it attaches a copy of the estimate to the bottom of the screen, and if I want to send a copy of a picture, a copy of a video, or even send a customer a link to make a payment, I can click to pay, click send out of Lightspeed. Again, the audit trail for any communication that's gone out of the repair order is captured on the repair order communication screen. And then responses back from the customer with a thank you for the update or yes, let's move forward. That response back from the customer is captured on the communications tab as well. Biggest benefit here is that communication stays in the repair order, it stays attached to the history of the customer, and it becomes property of the dealership. Instead of using external email and text communications that aren't inside of Lightspeed, and if one of those advisors or members of your team leaves the company, they take that communication with them. If this is happening in Lightspeed, that's property of your business. It's attached to the history and it stays with your business even after employees leave. So it's a powerful element to the service experience and to your history of your business. So how does this connect to the mobile application? Let's talk a little bit about that. The mobile application is going to have a little bit of an element of that email and text functionality, but it goes further than that. It creates a little bit of a mobile experience for your service advisors and also for your technicians, so they can interact with your customers, interact with repair orders, but they don't have to be married to a keyboard. They don't have to be at the computer station to do that. And let's just take a look briefly at what some of those features and functions look like inside of Lightspeed. So let's pull up Linda Smith's repair order once again, and we're going to talk about the mobile app. And those of you that are familiar with the mobile application, you know that it works in Apple or Android environments, tablets and cell phones, and it gives you access to a number of Lightspeed functions, from parts to service to sales, and even customer and time management follow-up, workflow management within the mobile application. We're going to spend some time talking about what it looks like from a service advisor and also from a service technician standpoint. So let's imagine our customer arrives to the business. We're going to walk out and greet the customer in the parking lot. We're going to write up the repair order using a cell phone or a tablet. I press that repair orders button on the way out the door, and it brings up a list of all the repair orders that are open in Lightspeed. And it gives me the button that says new check-in, where I can start the process of checking in that customer, start building that repair order from my cell phone or tablet. The other element that's really cool and efficient and time savings is the ability to scan the barcode on a driver's license. So yes, I could text the customer's information with my thumbs and fingers into the customer info field, and it's going to look to see does that customer already exist in Lightspeed, in which case it'll find one if they do. If they don't, we can add new ones. Or I can scan the barcode on a driver's license, and it's going to pull name and information into the repair order that I'm building on my phone. Next, I grab a little bit of vehicle information, and just like what we've seen on the desktop, VIN coding is there, so we can tell what year, make, and model of vehicle it is. But really, the mobile application, again, for time management, for efficiencies, if we just know the make and we know just that, the mobile app is happy with just that, and we can move forward. We can start adding jobs to the repair order by pressing the New Jobs button and pull jobs from that standard job library, that copy and paste library we talked about a moment ago. You can also use speech to text here to say ladder hinge repair, propane tank mount, and your speech becomes the job titles, and you can build the jobs that way, or go back to thumbs and texting, just like you would send a text message. Launch the camera in the mobile application, take pictures of that vehicle as it's being dropped off, and those pictures are going to land as attachments inside the repair order, which is going to benefit you when it comes to managing warranty, managing insurance jobs, or just verifying the condition of the vehicle before and perhaps after the service to prevent you from being liable from pre-existing damage. The other element is forms are accessible from the mobile application as well. So just like what we saw on the desktop side of Lightspeed with the ability to produce a PDF copy of a form and send it to a customer, any of those forms, from service check-ins to invoice type forms, I can click New, select the invoice, send it to the customer via text or email. Now, if we're requiring a signature or we're requiring interaction from the customer, they will have to agree to eSignature or eSign disclosure agreements. In essence, what they're doing is they're agreeing to contract, and this holds them liable to that contract. So they accept terms and conditions. They review the document. They do have the ability to decline or approve jobs based on whatever it is that you're communicating with the customer. Click the Sign button, sign with their finger, download a copy of that form right to their own device. And the biggest benefit to you at this point is not only have you created the repair order, created the jobs, got pictures of the vehicle, you've also got a signature, an approval to move forward for that customer, and they have a copy, and you haven't even touched your keyboard yet. You're out in the parking lot still creating the repair order. And that signed document, incidentally, is now captured on the desktop side of Lightspeed, signed, and we can reprint it, we can review it. It's contained within the repair order. So let's talk a little bit about what the technician's experience is. But before I get to that, I want to introduce you to the service scheduler. And this will offer a little bit of context. We're going to then bounce back to the mobile experience for the technician after we talk about this and show you some other elements that the technician can use to interact with your customers through the mobile app. I think you're really going to like some of this stuff. So let's talk about the technician scheduling, the Lightspeed calendar, which can be accessed from the repair order by clicking Schedule RO, or if I go to Service, I come down to Service Scheduler with Calendar and select the calendar selection, launches the camera, or the calendar rather, and before I go through the elements of scheduling, let's talk about the schedule itself, or the Lightspeed calendar itself. And just to point out a couple of things, I think of this calendar as a 3-column view. Over on the left are the open estimates and repair orders that are currently in progress, the work in progress side of service. It's kind of a scaled down version of what we saw when we opened the presentation. And I can look at specific statuses. I can search for particular customers. I do have some filter functions to find exactly what I'm looking for. But if I select, let's say, Mr. Garrett here, for example, and Garrett has several different jobs from oil changes to valve inspections, replacement of an air filter, and so on, already attached to his name. And maybe he's on the phone with me. We'll come back to Garrett in just a moment. In the center of the screen is my current calendar month and future calendar month. And we're going to pretend like today's Wednesday, the 29th. And you'll notice as I hover my mouse over the 29th, there's some color-coded bars there. And those color-coded bars are little indicators of jobs, whether they're me turning wrenches on a repair order, maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's a delivery. I can see kind of at a high level what activity is assigned to the calendar for the day. And then over to the right is the folks that are sharing their calendar with me. And that's the key piece. If I'm an advisor or manager, I want to make sure that the folks reporting to me are sharing their calendar view so I can see what their activity looks like and I can interact with their calendar from here. Now I can see Brian, I can see Riley, and below their names are things like phone calls, deliveries, pickups, turning wrenches on an RV or a boat or a motorcycle. I can see those high-level jobs, what those tasks are, and I can also see how much time each of those tasks is taking up of their day. Now back to Garrett. Garrett is on the phone with me wondering, can we get those jobs done for him today? Well, when I pull up my calendar, I can see who's available and what times. Riley's available at 8 a.m. to 9. Looks like Brian's got some time between about, noon and 1 o'clock. Riley's got some time about 1 o'clock and so on. And I say, yeah, Garrett, we've got some time. Can we get you scheduled in today? He says, yes. So we go ahead and check those jobs. And just to quickly expedite what we're talking about here, we're going to click Schedule Jobs. I'm going to pick either Brian or Riley, pick the date, pick the time, click OK, and it adds that task to their schedule for the day. Workflow management, creating efficiencies. Now let's roll back to the repair order side of Linda Smith for just a moment, and we're going to talk about what that technician experience looks like from workflow management. We're also going to show you some ways that they can interact with the repair order, and I want to share that tech video with you. I'll introduce that before we jump into it. But let's talk about service from a technician standpoint. So the technician arrives to work, or at any point during the day, they press the tech button on their phone, and they see a list of jobs that are assigned to them based on that schedule, based on earliest job at the top, latest job at the bottom. I can see repair order number, vehicle information, customer name, job description, and I have the ability to clock into each of those jobs if my manager requires me. Now, clocking in is going to record actual hours. How long does it actually take me to perform those tasks? And then we've got a report called our Technician Statistics Report that lets you measure efficiencies. If we compare billed hours to actual hours, this gives us the tool that we can create that measurement with. Technicians can also see job information from parts sold to the repair order. They can see notes from other advisors or technicians. They can see photos, signed documentation, and they can interact with the repair order in a couple of meaningful ways. One of which is they can make notes about the repair order. They click Tech Notes, and speech to text works here too. Again, efficiencies and productivity. Sometimes technicians have gloves on or dirty hands, and they just would rather press record, talk into the phone. And when they do that, on the Work tab of the repair order under Tech Notes is where their notes are going to show up. So communications from the technician back to the service advisor or the service desk can be done from the mobile application. And one thing that I often say about the mobile application when it comes to Tech Notes is that the Tech Notes are never going to show up on a print copy by default. They can be copy and pasted into resolution or recommendations, but they're not going to show up by default. So we never know for sure what a technician's going to say, right? So we don't want customers to see that right out the gate. A couple of other elements that technicians can share, and I'm just going to turn on some audio here. Well, doesn't look like I have that. Hopefully this will communicate the audio. So a couple of other things that we've got the ability to do is launch our camera. We can take pictures of what we're working on with the customer. We can also take short video clips, and any video or pictures that we take with the mobile application, they land as attachments on the attachments portion of the job. And why would that be beneficial? Well, if I want to document my story, I want to show the before and after, or I want to get that upsell to show the customer the worn out brake pads, the worn out tires, the worn out tie rod ends, I can actually take pictures of those items, and then I can send them via text or email from the desktop side of Lightspeed to show the customer the condition of those items and suggest that we upsell. Suggest, Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer, these are pretty worn out. I really would hate to see anything go wrong with them. Let's get some new parts on this thing and get you buttoned up. That communication goes out of Lightspeed, captures on the Communications tab. In addition to that, we have the ability to capture videos. And one of the cool things, one of the newest, coolest features about Lightspeed is technician videos. And I hope the audio transfers over. We'll find out in just a moment. But the concept there, I'll spare you a little bit of time there, but the concept is we can share a video. We can walk around the vehicle and point out the things that we like or that are right with the vehicle and the things that are wrong. Again, to build trust with the customer, show the customer exactly what we're doing, even provide a little bit of a view of who the technician is. And you'd be surprised at how far that goes with those upsells and creating a relationship with your customers. Now, that said, last thing I'm going to speak about here is back to communications. One thing I neglected to mention was with those follow-up chains, with those workflow management, those automations and communications, whether it's email or text, after this repair order is cashiered and completed, customers delivered and taken care of, those follow-up chains continue to communicate even after the sale. Say 30 days after, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, we just wanted to make sure you're satisfied with your service experience. If you have any questions, let us know. My name is Diana. Here's my phone number. Here in my hours of business. And maybe after 90 days, another communication goes out, reminds Mr. and Mrs. Customer that it's been 90 days since their last service. Have you thought about scheduling your next appointment? Give us a call and we'll move forward with that. So there's some really powerful ways that you can employ those communications and really employ the mobile application to work in tandem with your service advisors and technicians. And then the last little piece I'll speak to here is the ability to communicate via email and text in the mobile space, which, going back to the benefit here, is you're capturing the data in Lightspeed. When I send a text or email from the mobile app, it copy and paste, or it's a mirror image of the communication that's occurring on the service side of the repair order. Biggest benefit here is I can streamline my process. I don't have to go to the keyboard to send those texts, those emails, those updates from Lightspeed. I can use the mobile app to do it. But I also capture that data inside my DMS. It's property of the dealership. It doesn't go away when one of the service advisors or technicians leaves my company. It stays in the history of the system. And that's one huge benefit of maintaining the data. It's part of your business. You own it, keep it, use it. Good stuff. So really, I just wanted to mention, we did talk about the tech video. If you're interested in some of the features and functions that we've talked about today, I do invite you to reach out to your Lightspeed business account executive for pricing, for availability, for your industry, to see what's available specifically. The service tech video, as I mentioned, is something that's been very well received. Hopefully that audio came over. I guess I'll find out if we look at the recording, but thanks so much for that. And just to reiterate a couple things we talked about some of those integrations, whether you work in the power sports, the marine, or the RV industry. We've got integrations into your service experience from companies that mean something to you, from your OEMs to your third-party companies. We talked about some ways to streamline the repair order process, automation and communication with CRM. We talked about the mobile application and the service scheduler. And really, we hope we were able to find you some ways to maximize efficiencies, create better productivity, and become more profitable and make the most out of your time and your customers' time.
Whew, Brian gets to take a breath now. I mean, thank you, Brian. That is amazing. There's so much power within Lightspeed for the service department and so many efficiencies I think that people can gain. Couple of just questions. I know we're a little over time, so if you want to stay on for the Q&A, that's great. If not, they'll be on the recording, and we'll also follow up with some of the questions in a printed document as well. One question that somebody had, and maybe you can show this a little bit too, Brian, is that they're actually just wondering, how do you actually take a video? So I don't know if you can, you won't be able to show the whole thing, obviously, because you're not going to take a video, but just pull up the mobile app and kind of show them how that would maybe work.
Yeah, so if you're using the mobile app, and again, it does require a subscription to Tech Videos. So once you've subscribed to Tech Videos, in the mobile application, you'll have a record button available to you where you can record a video, share it to the Lightspeed Attachments tab, and then share that to your customers via text or email. So it gives you a certain duration. I want to say it's a 5-minute. I guess it's what it says on the screen there, to walk around the vehicle, to show your face if you want to, and really kind of convey what you're experiencing as a technician to your customers.
One other question too.
I think your mute button is giving you trouble, Diana.
Yeah. I was going to say, one other question people had too, Brian, was how to actually find the forms library.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So with regard to forms, if I go back into Lightspeed, I just want to point to where that forms button exists inside of your repair order. If you press the forms button, chances are you may already have a form or two in there. If you have nothing, it's possible that your single form library is blank. Reach out to your Lightspeed business account executive, your Lightspeed rep. And if you're interested in creating a form, whether it's a check-in form or something custom for your business, our forms designers can be very helpful, a great resource for providing those forms to you or answering any questions about what's available from Lightspeed.
Yeah, and I think they were looking to just where you would go to find the forms, Brian, just the navigation itself, because there's some standard ones that exist. Also, I think they're just saying they weren't finding any of those.
Okay. Well, I would say if there's forms loaded into your service module, you'll find them just simply by pressing that forms button in the repair order. If you wanted to take a shot at creating your own, I do invite you to do that. It's not terribly difficult. It requires a little bit of practice, but Practice makes perfect. So if you go into System, you come down to Forms Designer. This is where the forms are added to Lightspeed. And if I go into Service Warranty, RO Warranty, I guess is the definition, maybe verify that you do or don't have anything listed there already. If you do have something, you can edit an existing form, or you can press New, import forms, import images, and basically the Forms Designer is a click and drag experience. You'll find the items that you want to add to the form, double click the item, and then you just simply click and drag it into the proper position. Sounds simple, take some practice. Reach out to our Forms Designer if you need help with those, but they'd be happy to help you set those up.
Perfect. I'm just trying to see if there's some other questions. I know we've got lots of questions here, and unfortunately, we won't be able to answer them all today live during the webinar. People have asked to it is obviously the recording will be available, and how you find the recording of the webinar is we send out an email, and it's going to have a direct link to today's webinar, so you can share it with everybody at your dealership as well. So that's kind of a key just piece of information a lot of people are asking. And then one other question maybe to Brian, and we'll see if we can kind of wrap from there, but what does the job code and the standard jobs do? Like when they have the standard jobs set up and there's job codes?
Yeah, good question. Job codes are often something that dealerships use internally. Maybe they have their own definition of what those job codes mean. So many businesses have their own series of codes. Most businesses, I think to some degree, probably don't use them at all, but a lot of times the job codes also pertain to warranty. Certain warranty companies will issue job codes based on the warranty, and those job codes need to be input before the warranty can be processed, but it's pretty flexible, and it can be used for a number of things. It really is indicative of the business.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. I said, I know there are more questions out there, but I don't want to make everybody hang on for the whole time. So what we typically do is we'll go through the questions. Sometimes they're individual and unique to your dealership, or maybe you actually need tech support or help with something. So we actually will take those questions and get them delivered over to our tech support team. But then we'll also spend time, and primarily it'll get to be Brian, but answering those questions. And that Q&A document, you probably won't see until next, like Monday, even just we need some time to go through those questions. But the recording will be available tomorrow. So that's something you can get to very easily from the email that we just send out as a follow-up. So with that, I want to again, thank you, Brian. Exceptional information. There's just a lot, I think, that people can learn about just the service module within Lightspeed. So many ways you can improve efficiencies in your dealership. And I think one of the key things you said, Brian, is one of the things you can't create more of is time. So it's a great way to really understand some ways you can just build efficiencies within your department. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate your time and have a great day.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.